Welcome. Welcome, dear friends. Welcome to our spiritual home, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tarpon Springs. We're so glad to have you with us today. My name is Barbara Rosen, and I serve on our Board of Trustees, and I'm serving as your worship associate today. We're a church of many welcomes, and we offer a warm welcome to all of you. This is a liberal community for all ages, promoting spiritual growth, social justice, and the arts. As such, ours is an active church, and everyone is invited to participate in any of our activities. To learn more about events, our church calendar is on our website, uutarpon.org, or we'd be happy to talk with you during the coffee hour. Our children are with us today at the beginning of the service at this time, and we have faith formation programming available with our gifted leader, Jami, Cruz. Children are gather for their time together with her after the story. If you'd like more information about our programming, please contact Reverend Kristina or see Jami after the service. For those present with us in the building, we have connection cards available in the pews near the hymnals. If you fill one out and put it in the offering plate or give it to one of the greeters, we'll be able to keep in touch with you. If you're watching us on Zoom or YouTube, you can send us an email at membership@uutarpon.org to get connected. There are also small cards to write any joys or concerns that you would like to share with us at the end of this service, if you prefer to do it in writing. We're also requiring all people, all ages, to mask while indoors here at the church. We are delighted to have Reverend Kristina Spaude leading the service today. Music is provided by our music director, Bonnie Whitehurst, and the wonderful choir. Again, welcome.
Our first hymn is in the Teal Hymn Book, number 1028, The Fire of Commitment, 1028.
Guiding hands When we introduce ourselves, it is helpful for those with vision loss and others to say some things about ourselves. So I am the Reverend Kristina Spaude. I use she, her pronouns, and am a white woman. I have chin-length, curly brown hair, parted on one side with blue eyes. And here at the church, we want to acknowledge that we are on the lands of the Tocobaga and Seminole peoples. Our opening words this morning come from Leslie Takahashi. This is Call to Worship for Stewardship Sunday. To worship means to consider that which has worth. Today, we consider with gratitude the many gifts of this community. The opportunity to be affirmed in who we are and to offer that affirmation to others. The chance to be together to help remake the world in the ideal of justice. The freedom to choose one's own path to truth and to learn from the travelogues of others. The space to expand one's spirit and to reconnect after busy or humdrum weeks with the sustaining truths of one's life. Regular reminders that we must see our world through the lens of love, and the aspiration to consider all life as precious, for if all of it is made of stardust, how can it not be wondrous? So this morning, let's welcome all of these gifts with gratitude, for they have been paid for with many currencies. The blood of the martyrs who died so that we can be free in our religion, the sweat of those who persisted in justice's name against hostility and adversity, the tears of those who struggled to build better lives for those in this life, the questions of our children as they understand the world anew and offer their understanding to us as a fresh lens, the laughter and joy of those giddy with the embrace of community, the dollars and cents of those who gave what they could and then stretched a little more. The infinite small acts of service that make the parts greater than the whole, done by those who knew themselves in symphony with our purposes. So today we consider with gratitude and humility what it means to pay forward what has been paid forward for us. And now, with all of this, let us enter into worship with gladness in our hearts.
We light our chalice with these words from Jennifer Grayson. We light this chalice, symbol of our purpose, to bring more love and justice in the world. We light this chalice knowing our congregation as a church dispersed across communities, not bound by walls, but connected through the web of life.
Spirit of light.
Our story this morning is called A Lamp in Every Corner by Janine K. Grossmeyer. And I need to tell you before I start that this is one of my very favorite stories. It is the one that I chose to be used in my ordination service. Many years ago, in the land of Transylvania, a mountain valley watered by quick, rushing streams and shadowed by great forests of beech trees, there was a village of small wooden houses with dark, shingled roofs. The people in the village were of the Unitarian religion, and they wanted a church of their own. A church set on the hillside, they decided, looking down on the village as a mother looks down upon her sleeping child. So all of the people of the village labored long and hard to build themselves a church. The stonemasons hammered sharp chisels to cut great blocks of gray stone, then set the stones into stout and sturdy walls. The glaziers made tiny glass panes and fitted them neatly into the windows with leaded lines. The foresters sawed tall beech trees into enormous beams and laid the trusses for the ceiling, then covered the roof with close-fitting wooden shingles that wouldn't leak a drop of rain. The carpenters carved wood for the pair of wide opening doors, setting them on strong pegs so the doors hung straight and square. A bell was brought from a faraway city, then hoisted up by ropes with a heave and a hoe to the top of the tower. The weavers wove fine cloths for the altar table, cloths embroidered with flowers and edged with lace. The smiths hammered black iron into tall lampstands and hammered thin bronze into shining oil lamps. Finally, when the building of the church was done, the painting of the church could begin. The painters mixed bright colors, royal red and shimmering gold and brilliant blue, and everyone in the village, old and young, women and men, boys and girls, came to decorate their church. They painted flowers. They painted trees. They painted designs around the windows and different designs around the doors. And at the end of the day, when it was finished, when their church was finally done, all the people of the village stood back to admire it. And then they sang a song of happiness and praise. Their village had a church now, a church set on the hillside, looking down upon the village as a mother looks down upon her sleeping child. "We will eat now," announced an elder of the village, because everyone was hungry after their long day's work. "And later tonight, we will come back to pray." So the people of the village went down the hillside to their homes and their suppers, all except one little girl named Zora and her father, who stayed behind. They had brought their own bread and cheese. They ate their food slowly, sitting on the grass on the hillside and admiring their new church with its strong stone walls, its tall tower, and its magnificent bell. After they had eaten, they went back inside, opening those carved wooden doors to go into the gloriously painted sanctuary inside. "Oh, look, Father," Zora cried, running from picture to picture with her footsteps echoing off the stone walls. "See how pretty the church is?" She stopped in the center of the church and twirled slowly around. See how grand? Yes, it is, said her father, looking around and nodding with pride. Yes, it is. But father, she said suddenly, we have not finished. What do you mean? There are tall iron lampstands all along the walls, but there are no lamps. The church will look dark when the people come back. Ah, no, little one, said her father. The light of the church comes from its people. You shall see. He rang the bell to call the people to worship and took his daughter by the hand and led her back outside. They waited on the grassy hillside next to their beautiful church of strong gray stone. The sun had set behind the mountains and night was coming soon. Yet in the growing darkness, tiny points of light came from many directions and moved steadily up the hill. Each family is entrusted with a lamp, little one, her father explained. Each family lights its own way here. Where is our family's lamp? Your mother is carrying it. She will be here soon. The many lights moved closer together, gathering into one moving stream, all headed the same way, growing larger and brighter all the time. Zora's mother arrived bearing a burning oil lamp in her hands. The father lifted Zora so she could set their family's lamp high in its tall iron stand. All around the church, other families were doing the same. Soon the church was ablaze with light in every corner, for all the people of the village had gathered to pray and to sing. All through the worship service, Zora watched the lights flicker and glow. She watched the family's lamp most of all. When the service was over, her father lifted her high. She took the shining bronze lamp from the lampstand. Its curved sides were warm and smooth in her hands. Her mother carried the lamp home with the flame lighting the way. The lamp flame lit their house when they returned home. Zora washed her face and got ready for bed by the light of that flame. Mother, Zora began as she climbed into bed and lay down. Yes, little one? Her mother asked, tucking the red wool blanket around Zora's shoulders. Father said the light of the church comes from its people. Yes. But also the people take their light from the church. Over on the table by the fireplace, the shiny bronze lamp was still burning. And we have that light every day. Yes, indeed, said her mother. And even when we are not in church, even when the lamp is not lit, we carry the light of truth in our minds and the flame of love in our hearts to show us the right way to be. That light, the light from truth and love, will never go out. Never? asked Zora. Never, said her mother. And the bronze lamp will last for many, many years. When you are grown, we will give the bronze lamp to you, and when your children are grown, you will give the lamp to them, and all of you will carry it back and forth to church every time. But there is only one lamp, Zora said. So make another, and let the light grow. And someday tell your children to make more lamps too. And now, good night, her mother said, and kissed Zora once on this cheek, and once on that cheek, and once on the forehead. Zora closed her eyes and drifted into dreams, while her mother looked down upon her sleeping child. The years passed. Zora grew. The bronze lamp came into her care. She kept it polished and clean, and when the bell rang out across the valley to call the people to worship, she carried the lamp back and forth to the church on the hillside, the flame always lighting her way. When the time came, she made more lamps and gave them to her children, who made more lamps and gave them to their children. And so it went on through the years, even until today. And always the light of truth and the flame of love from that Unitarian church on the hillside continue to grow and show them and us the way. We will sing our children to their programming, and we will light this chalice candle flame to carry our love with them.
Now is the time in the service where we take our offering for the work and welfare of this church. Ours is a free faith which must sustain itself financially. Please go to our website, uutarpon.org, and click on the donate button, or you may mail your offering to the church at 57 Reed Street, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689. For those of you with us in person in the sanctuary, place your offering in the offering plate as they are passed. Before I begin our reading, we will hold a brief moment of silence together. Allow you to settle into your seats, into yourself. Take a few deep breaths deep into your belly, if that's comfortable for you.
Our reading this morning comes from Rachel Naomi Raymond, MD. This excerpt is "All Life Needs is Your Faithfulness," from her book, My Grandfather's Blessings. Often when he came to visit, my grandfather would bring me a present. These were never the sorts of things that other people brought, dolls and books and stuffed animals. My dolls and stuffed animals have been gone for more than half a century, but many of my grandfather's gifts are with me still. Once, he brought me a little paper cup. I looked inside it expecting something special. It was full of dirt. I was not allowed to play with dirt. Disappointed, I told him this. He smiled at me fondly. Turning, he picked up the little teapot from my doll's tea set and took me to the kitchen where he filled it with water. Back in the nursery, he put the teacup on the windowsill and handed me the teapot. "If you promise to put some water in the cup every day, something may happen," he told me. At the time, I was 4 years old, and my nursery was on the 6th floor of an apartment building in Manhattan. This whole thing made no sense at all. I looked at him dubiously. He nodded with encouragement. "Every day, Neshumala," he told me. And so I promised. At first, curious to see what would happen, I did not mind doing this. But as the days went by and nothing changed, it got harder and harder to remember to put water in the cup. After a week, I asked my grandfather if it was time to stop yet. Shaking his head no, he said, "Every day, Neshumala." The second week was even harder, and I became resentful of my promise to put water in the cup. When my grandfather came again, I tried to give it back to him, but he refused to take it, saying simply, "Every day, Neshumala." By the third week, I began to forget to put water in the cup. Often, I would remember only after I had been put to bed and would have to get out of bed and water it in the dark. But I did not miss a single day. And one morning, there were 2 little green leaves that had not been there the night before. I was completely astonished. Day by day, they got bigger. I could not wait to tell my grandfather, certain that he would be as surprised as I was. But of course, he was not. Carefully, he explained to me that life is everywhere, hidden in the most ordinary and unlikely places. I was delighted. "And all it needs is water, Grandpa?" I asked him. Gently, he touched me on the top of my head. "No, Neshumala. All it needs is your faithfulness."
Strong and sound, anchored on
My very first exchange in my new local time bank was being a set of hands. A neighbor needed someone to be another set of hands for her to get plastic in her basement windows. If you have never lived outside of Central Florida, you may not know that that's important to keep cold air out of your home. She couldn't manage it alone, especially not with 2 small children. She just needed someone to help with this one small task. When I started doing things with our time bank, I was drawn to its principles. I had already experienced enough of life to have some different ideas about value and values, and time banking gave me a chance to practice this in a new way. Time banking is primarily a service exchange network used as a tool to rebuild communities. Neighbors helping neighbors get their needs and wants met. You might remember me sharing a few weeks ago that Edgar Kahn, who founded the system of time banking that has spread throughout the world since the 1990s, that Edgar used to say, "We have what we need if we use what we have." Edgar wasn't simply an idealist. He was an accomplished attorney, law professor, and for a time had served as counsel and speechwriter for Robert Kennedy. He used his skill and expertise to advocate for social reforms, including Native rights and those who are marginalized and oppressed. The system of time banking he worked out had the following as its core principles: assets, redefining work, reciprocity, social networks, and respect. They are defined this way: we are all assets. We all have something to give. For redefining work, some work is beyond price. Work has to be redefined. To create the village that raises healthy children, builds strong families, revitalizes neighborhoods, makes democracy work, advances social justice, and even makes the planet sustainable is valuable work. It needs to be honored, recorded, and rewarded. Reciprocity. Helping works better as a two-way street. The question, how can I help you, needs to change, so we ask, how can we help each other build the world we all will live in? Social networks. We need each other. People joined in shared purpose are stronger than individuals. Helping each other, we reweave communities of support, strength, and trust. Community is built upon sinking roots, building trust, creating networks. Special relationships are built on commitment and respect. Every human being matters. Respect underlies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and everything we value. Respect supplies the heart and soul of democracy. When respect is denied to anyone, we are all injured. We must respect where people are in the moment, not where we hope they will be at some future point. Sounds really good, right? Pretty straightforward. And yet, like being a part of a congregation, the practice is challenging. 1 hour is 1 time credit. People would join and say, I'm going to charge 2 time credits for this job because it's worth more than 1. Like maybe someone would want to charge more for giving a massage than having their dog walked. In our American capitalist lives, this absolutely makes sense. I don't know that any dog walker gets paid what a massage therapist does, or vice versa. But in time banking, your hour of doing whatever is the same as my hour of doing whatever. You make a legal consultation, I make a chocolate truffle cake. Same hour. While capitalism attempts to factor in such things as skill, education, and other things, time banking attempts to factor in different variables like community building, equality, and value. Let me give an example. It's $3 more to buy water filters for my system at Publix than at Target. But the other day, I bought them at Publix because I didn't want to have to spend my time and energy driving to Target just to get water filters. Is it worth 30 minutes of my time and whatever I spend on gas to drive to Target to supposedly save $3? There's a value exchange there that can't simply be captured for the sake of the sale price of a good. That's part of what time banking tries to take into account. So let's say you're a teacher and you join the time bank and you find out one of your neighbors just down the street is also a member. You have 2 cats. Your neighbor's spouse has a great job, so your neighbor only works part-time, mostly for enjoyment. What is it worth to you to be able to ask your neighbor to stop in when you get stuck at school and feed your cats? To be able to ask your neighbor to feed your cats and clean their litter boxes and whatever else your cats need while you go on vacation for a week in the spring? Is it worth 5 hours of tutoring or baking or sewing or whatever else that you might provide for others in the community to be able to make that exchange? What are those exchanges worth to you now? The $3 less at Target or the $3 more at Publix or something else? How do we determine and assign value for things, for services that are offered in a different context than how capitalism has taught us how to view the world? One thing that time banking gives us that capitalism does not is community, roots, interconnection, the beginning of trust, a network of people who become yours. It gives us something more than what we can simply pay for. I remember a time bank friend making soup once and brought me some, and I gave her a time credit as a thank you. She was like, "I just want to be nice to you." She didn't want the time credit. There is no accounting for this kind of care, and no value apart from reciprocation can be given for it. Those roots give us wings to truly and deeply care for one another. What is the value of this congregation, this community to you? How can it be measured? When I left Northeast Ohio to take a position in Central Eastern Pennsylvania to work as a hospital chaplain, I knew that I would be giving up my roots. I grew up in Cleveland's suburbs, had worked in many different suburbs all around, went to Kent State University, joined the UU Church in Kent, interned in Youngstown, worked as a director of religious education in another suburb, led worship for congregations all around the area, did 2 years of chaplaincy training at the Cleveland VA. I claim all of Northeast Ohio as home because its roads and waterways are all imprinted on my heart. When I moved, I left it all. Congregations and their people who I loved, the time bank, my friends and family, colleagues, the veterinarians and mechanics and doctors and others I had learned to trust. I went with an understanding that I would be held with some care and tenderness where I was going, even though I knew I'd have to do my part to make a place. My home had given me the strength in my roots to try my wings. It was short-lived. I don't know how many of you have worked in a level 1 trauma center and regional medical center in a rural and conservative area. Second shift, in a department where you are basically the department for hours of your shifts, but it's really hard. As someone with trauma history myself, it was harder. The department I joined also changed quickly, with 2 of the other 3 staff chaplains and the department manager gone in less than 1 year. The roots I was forming there were ripped right out. New staff and management came in who, let's just say I wouldn't have left my life in Ohio to be with them. And then the pandemic started. The isolation of my life there worsened even more. As a community builder and community member, this was unsustainable for me. There are few things that we can say are true for every person, but one of those is that we are wired to be together. We are wired for connection. It impacts brain chemistry and development, whether we get enough connection as children and youth. While we can learn how to manage ourselves better as we age, we still very much need one another. The roots we have will only survive and even thrive when we nourish and nurture them, when we have the chances to build relationships, to grow both on our own and together. The body of the plant is dependent on those roots, and the roots are dependent on the nutrients, water, and quality of the soil they are planted in. They are dependent on sunlight and warmth to help orient themselves. People are no different in those ways. We need good places to land, healthy relationships and communities to be a part of. We need to be nourished and nurtured in our minds, hearts, bodies, and spirits. We need the warmth of others to help us find our way. We need to know that we are held. When we are, we grow and flourish. Sometimes we talk about a community like, boom, there's a community, like it's a static or fixed thing, like a church building, which I know I don't need to explain to this congregation, also isn't even as simple as an idea as one might think. But communities are growing and shrinking and changing over time. All communities are like that. Today, our community looks like this. Next week, it will be similar but different. And the week after that, still similar, still different. Communities aren't built and then last forever. They happen each time we gather in every exchange we have between and among ourselves. We make community each time we greet someone, welcome someone new, go out to lunch, work on a project or committee, plan an event, sing in the choir, come to church, help with the dishes, with Jami and our children and youth. You get the idea. The community, a congregation in the story, is the people who carry their lanterns to the church and then take them back home. Like life itself, we have to build it bit by bit, physically and metaphorically over time, and we have to both pay and pave the way. It is made from our sweat and our love and our generosity. It will not make itself, and no one can or will do it for us. Community is the work of faithfulness, the watering of the cup every day and trusting that something might happen. Faithfulness is continuing to show up, be present, fulfill the commitment, do the thing you say you're going to do, and holding space for all the possibilities, just as those who came before us held it for us. Faithfulness is how we practice being in covenant together with our whole hearts and our minds and our lives. Dr. Raymond's story from the reading continues. This was perhaps my first lesson in the power of service, but I did not understand it in this way then. My grandfather would not have used those words. He would have said that we need to remember to bless life around us and life within us. He would have said that we remember we can bless life, we can repair the world. My grandfather was a scholar of the Kabbalah, the mystical teachings of Judaism. According to the Kabbalah, at some point in the beginning of things, the holy was broken up into countless sparks, which were scattered throughout the universe. There is a God spark in everyone and in everything, a sort of something. I lost my place. There is a God spark in everyone and in everything, a sort of diaspora of goodness. God's immanent presence among us is encountered daily in the most simple, humble, and ordinary ways. The Kabbalah teaches that the holy may speak to you from many hidden places at any time. The world may whisper in your ear, or the spark of God in you may whisper in your heart. My grandfather showed me how to listen. Sometimes those sparks look like the lanterns we carry, spreading our light in the world in every corner. Sometimes the light and the sparks are the budding life taking root, or the wings getting ready for flight. You all already know that I support many of the same political and other causes you support. But this congregation needs you to know something more, something that those other causes don't have. If you look around this room, about 25% of the members are here, and it is our members who support this congregation. We get some money from rent for the apartment on Reed Street, and we get some additional funds from different places. But for the most part, our expenses, which include staff, insurance, utilities, and the basic things that go into making this congregation go, are either paid for by you or from our endowment, from those who came before. There are no other donors that we can solicit, no millions of people to make pleas to try to make ends meet at the last minute. It's just us, past and present, carrying the hope of the present and the future. What light do you bring to this church and its congregation? What light do you carry with you back out into the world? How will you be faithful to the life of this congregation? What community are you building today and tomorrow and in the days to come? What roots have you nourished and nurtured here, and what wings have grown? May we find a way to show us all the path forward. Our closing hymn is number 1074 in the Teal hymnal. And I chose this song because it's important to me. It's a fun, messy song to sing. It's a song you sing with your heart and not your mind, so don't read the notes. And in case you need some help remembering that, I learned this song from the Muppet Show. So you can think of the choir as a bunch of Muppets up here helping guide the way into the fun spirit.
Also channel Harry Belafonte. And today, if you have noticed, our first hymn was in 5/4 time, and this one is in 5/4 time, meaning there's 5 beats in each measure, so it's not like this, it's more like that. 1074.
Hopefully you feel a little energized now. In The Gift of Faith, Jean Harrison Newyer has written, in the lore of ancient China, there is a story of a philosopher who was asked, "Where is the road called hope?" He replied, "It does not exist, but as people move upon it, it comes into being." I invite you to continue moving forward on this road, this path called hope with me.
We hope that you found meaning in today's service. We close with these words by Martha L. Munson. We extinguish the chalice here that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again.